in that top position. We are going to say Butter Preacher now, however. Abyss Academy versus Legacy Genesis. If you want to get on the hashtag train, hashtag ABYA win. Ah, that's right, Abyss Academy. I'm going to make that hashtag for you. Or hashtag LGG win in Twitch chat, in Twitter. Tweet at me, at RustyLol. Now, Abyss Academy and Legacy Genesis feel like, you know, two teams that we could see in this top 4 position, if you haven't heard me say that already. 7.13 is an interesting patch because it's showing that hyper carry 80 carries are back.
Are you sure about that?
Yes.
Don't need to back away a little bit?
Why?
I don't know. Maybe.
Oh,
I think you're saying that hyper carries are back with that there. But what I want to look into when we take this into account is the fact that, yeah, we saw Caitlyn and we saw Varus. So those utility ADCs still fulfill a role because they're back, maybe in solo and competitive play, something that ADCs are comfortable on. They've been doing a lot of play of it there. But the idea is you have to look at it, what does the team need? Do we have enough control? Do we need that Ash Arrow? Or do we have enough of the fact we've got someone who can solidly engage? Because the moment you have J4, sweet, no worries. You can get those carry ADCs instead. Because all of a sudden, he's the one facilitating the play. But if you decide to get a Fiora, then you might be more comfortable picking up that Ash or that Virus instead.
Okay, so it depends on the team composition. I like that. But Caitlyn has been banned away. Fiora and Zyra by Abyss Academy. We can see Zac, Rek'Sai, and Rakan, which means Papyrai's just going to prioritize that Renekton and locked it in his first pick.
Yeah, it is good. We did see Papyrai's or Papyrai's.
Papyrai's. Who's your daddy?
Papyrai's did do really well. Beforehand, Renekton is one of those guys that I guess you could say, I want to style on my opponent. I want to throw down the gauntlet, get in your face, take control of the lane, take control of the game. Is essentially what you need to do with Renekton. Now, you saw before, Ludacop did a good job of taking control of the lane, but he didn't have that control around the game, and as everything started to move forward towards those team fights, didn't have the same effect that you'd like to see on him. He was a big, beefy frontliner, but he wasn't really a big win condition.
Legacy Genesis have been looking at the international meta a little bit, with Elise being the first pick. Really surprised that this has been let through on the red side. But, I mean, if Papyrai's wants his champion, he wants his champion. As long as the Elise, it is going to be the Tristana coming through from Drakon. Squidgy didn't get it last game, but people are talking about how strong Tristana is. And especially with a team composition that can siege, that can really harass.
I do like that as well. And plus, she's a ticking time bomb. That's the big thing you have to look at. Yep. When you look at a Tristana, she's going to do a lot of work towards that late game. She does really well in the laning phase if she's able to get some control, because she just shreds through turrets when she does decide to put an explosive charge down. So there's a lot of utility that she brings in terms of pushing power and the fact that she's got a great late game.
Well, they did go past the Xayah. Unfortunately, not going to be this time. No Rakan, no Xayah. There's no love in the air. Swaith, again, third week in a row, gets Kha'Zix. I mean, we did say you need to ban this champion away from Abyss Academy because Swaith will prioritize it. And the Varus gets locked in for KO, who's been, you know, a bit of a rising AD carry. We knew he was good. It was just about showing it in this split of the OCS. Now, Legacy Genesis, they can choose to respond with potentially that Thresh, which is open. But, I mean, if they go for the Lulu here, it means supports can be banned away by them in the next phase.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. They do decide to go for the Lulu here, and I do like the fact that they picked it up, because all of a sudden now, you got a Jugger Triss composition.
True.
Again, I said, you know, she's a ticking time bomb when it comes towards that late game. If we get Drakon to get going early, the fact of the matter is, if we get all that protection going through, that means that he will survive, he will do the damage he needs to do, and all of a sudden, Abyss Academy need to go, okay, do we want to take the Orianna off the board? Because, I mean, it goes well with our Kha'Zix, but then Legacy Genesis have an extra form of protection coming through.
I'm waiting for... I mean, I'm still waiting for this Thresh ban. Kuden has been a great melee / you know, engaged support.
Yep.
He's picked up the Brom before. Ahri's going to be the ban by Abyss Academy, and it feels like the second ban phase is really relying on making sure you can shut down that mid lane, which is Frey. So to Legacy Genesis, get rid of the Ahri, get rid of the Cassiopeia. Questions?
I mean, the thing is with Frey, he's got such a diverse pool.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at it now, I would expect him to go for an AP mid laner as well.
Okay.
So I would say, you know, the fact that you do have a lot of lane priority already inbuilt into your team, the fact that you got a Renekton, the fact that you do have a Virus as well, who's going to be more along pushing out Tristana early and forcing him out. I'd love to actually see them say, yep, let's pick up the Cassiopeia. So we've got some real late game priority, and the fact that we know that Frey can make that pick work.
Yeah, I think, you know, taking away that Vladimir, that is a fair call. Harry loses the Syndra, which he didn't really have a great week on last time. Do Legacy Genesis just take the Orianna, take some control away from the Abyss Academy lineup?
They could do that. Again, like we've said, it seems to be a very big priority pick.
Yeah,
Every sort of laner needs to make sure that they have that on their hands as well. I do like how they said, you know what, the J4 was actually hovered at one point in time for a bit, and they said, oh, I've got Renekton already. That's something that we're going to deal with. So all of a sudden now he's going to be good. That's a nice round out for the Legacy Genesis lineup there. It's not going to be a Teemo. I'd love to see a Teemo.
I see that. I see that, Mendrix. I move past it. I get through because I don't want that champion to ever exist in one of the games. Like, it's not going to happen. But Freight does get the Orianna, so they prioritize again the Jarvan. It's just about having these, big meta picks. And like we said, the Thresh was open and available, and suddenly Abyss Academy just have this team comp that has a really punishing 1-4-1.
Oh,
1-4.
1-4?
6 members on
1-4-1 would be huge.
Yeah.
I was sitting there going, yeah, 1-4. 1-4. What are you doing? What are you talking about there? Absolutely crazy. The Legacy Genesis have a bit of a tough ask there. They do decide to go for the Victor. I kind of thought that maybe Karma would be a great pick.
Oh, absolutely.
Really double down on the fact that you can go for a protect the AD composition. But basically, they're going to have 2 lane neutralizers. Victor does do a lot more damage towards that late game, but doesn't have the same level of utility as Orianna have. So I think Abyss Academy went through saying, you know what, Frey's great on Orianna, did great on it last week, means we're denying him more protected competition, or denying the fact that we can really protect the AD in terms of having that Tristana. So I like what Abyss Academy has done in terms of their decision-making there. Legacy Genesis just looking to round out their composition.
So does Legacy Genesis here just create 2 damage threats? I mean, you've got a Bruiser up in the top lane. You've got a lot of Engage and Chain CC.
Yeah.
Excuse me. But by putting that Victor in, does that suddenly just say, hey, Tristana goes down? Well, we have to deal with Hayri. And after we've used everything, like the Shockwave, Dominus may be down, and the Chains of Corruption from Varus, you get 1 pick, but you still got to worry about the other champion. Is it kind of like the split threat that Legacy Genesis?
Well, they definitely do have 2 damage threats that you do need to keep your mind on. I'd still say you'd try to deal with Victor first, because really he's got a lot of burst damage, whereas on the other side, Tristana's more, I guess he's more concerned with actually sort of putting out that, what's the word I'm looking for here? I have a word in mind.
You said output.
So there's something to do with damage. So the one's burst damage. And
DPS?
Not DPS.
Damage over time.
Not damage over time, no.
Mendrix, DPS,
so, okay,
damage over time.
what's the opposite of burst?
Burst. Slow damage. Nice and slow.
Nice and slow damage. No, consistent damage. Consistent damage.
Is that not DPS or like DOT?
No, it's different. It's completely different ballgame.
Consistent damage.
Yes, so burst is you want to do a lot of
damage
in a very short period of time.
I know what burst is, OPL Analyst Mendrix. I know what that is.
Whereas consistent damage is the fact that it's going to be there the entire time happening through, but it's not as much damage in that short period.
Yes, it's consistent.
Consistent, yes.
Consistent.
I'm looking for consistent damage versus burst damage.
Good damage over time.
Yes.
How's that?
That is good.
Perfect. Right.
You understand what that means, right?
Yes, I know what that means. Treat me like a monkey. Like, you guys, off camera, these guys are very rude to me. And hey, I may not know as much about League of Legends as those two, as Mendrix and Preacher, who's over on the side. But I care about the game, okay? And I try to give you entertaining content, which is why we're here every week for the OCS, building up the hype train. I shouldn't clap on camera as well because it comes into the mic. This is our game of the week. This is definitely our game of the week because Legacy Genesis are a team in that top 4, and even without Babip, Plug is a seasoned player. Normally plays support, and I know jungle is a very different role, but he's still a seasoned player. And Legacy Genesis have the ability with this team composition to get ahead and use that hyper carry, use the Victor, because I feel like late game where these two are untouched turns in to the Squidgy and Hayri show. Sorry, I'm used to Squidgy. Okay, turns into the Drakon and Hayri show. I'm used to Squidgy's Tristana, but there's a lot of potential for this bottom lane and this mid lane, the bottom side of the map, to get ahead and push the envelope.
I agree with that one there,
but
I think we do really need to look at the junglers here.
Okay.
Because we got Swath, he's going to be on that Kha'Zix. He's wants to make those picks.
And he
wants to make them happen. Same with Elise. Elise wants to make those picks as well. Yep. But she's going to be doing a lot more tempo around the map, whereas Kha'Zix will be more inclined to farm. Doesn't really need to worry about that as much. Will be a big threat towards that late game because he's got 2 good targets that he can go on. And really, you have to look in terms of who they have to protect. So if Kha'Zix jumps in, Swath jumps in, he basically needs to look at where's the wild growth. If the wild growth is not on Victor, I can go for Squidgy. If it's on
Target selection.
Oh, Squidgy,
yeah.
I did it too.
You Mendrix.
You said
We're gonna
Squidgy.
do- I know.
We think Tristana's, and then we just immediately think Squidgy.
He played good on Caitlyn as well. Squidgy, you're not a one-trick Tristana, but you are a damn good one. I know he's out there watching, but I mean, Drakon has a lot to prove here as well to Squidgy and to the rest of the audience. But like you said, target selection. So
Target
if the wild
selection
growth
becomes
is used,
very important.
there is,
very important.
protection method. There is the cocoon, but that is more of an engage tool or a disengage tool. And then you've got the Jarvan Cataclysm, another engage tool. And it does provide some protection, but the Lulu is there. Either take out the Lulu, force the wild growth, and then you have a very vulnerable Legacy Genesis comp.
Well, that's the thing. It all comes down to them forcing those cooldowns out, and then all of a sudden, if you can get that pick priority onto it, then basically they've got enough. There's not much they can really do because yes, Lulu is great towards that late game protecting one, but if she's not able to do that, then all of a sudden your team composition just starts falling apart.
Well, that's right. Yeah.
And I really have to look at it. Look at it in terms of all right, Paprise. He needs to make sure he does put his stamp on this game because if he's big, all of a sudden it becomes so hard for them to actually protect their champions. Because Paprise is just going to be jumping straight into the middle of it.
They left the top lanes last game. There was no jungle pressure top whatsoever.
Yeah.
And it was like a split push. We're going to do a 4-map rotation top, reciprocated on the bottom lane, swap around, and we're doing the same thing again. Both the outer turrets were gone, and it was like, okay, I'm a Renekton, and Little Cop just pushed against the J4. Better on those teleport plays, better on those engages. And we've seen how much a J4 has, how much impact he has in team fights in comparison to a Renekton. So I'd be curious to see if, Paprise plays this a little bit differently because it is the same matchup.
Yep.
And, I do expect there to be a lot of potential in this top lane as Artiferns and Paprise will be versing each other in a very similar matchup to last game. Abyss Academy take on Legacy Genesis, Game 2 of OCS Week 3.
The big change that I want to see in terms of looking at that matchup going into it is that I want more jungle help for Paprise.
Okay.
If Swap is able to go in there and really shut down Artiferns, really make sure that he can't just neutralize the lane every single time that he wants, like we had before, where Mobo was able to sit back and say, yep, no worries, yes, you are a big Renekton, but I've got a tower. All of a sudden, when Renekton is able to dive that tower, it becomes such a force to reckon with.
Okay, so Abyss Academy going for the invade will be spotted out by a ward. 10 gold! KO has 1 CS, ladies and gentlemen.
On the board. On the board.
That's an early gold advantage. Plug will drop a ward down in this bottom lane as well. And Drakon just hovering around that red buff. So early vision priority. Very important for Legacy Genesis to spot out what is going on. And it looks like Swaith will be coming down the bottom lane as well. And this is very ambitious. It's like Tilting and Drakon know they have the level 1. Do it. Kuda.
Oh, this is very, very risky there. Because they can't expect. I mean, they've got the wards, so they know they should be fine. They should be okay. They're backing off. I was just thinking they're going, are they actually going to sit there and wait? Is Abyss Academy going to go and send their whole unit there? Because they've got enough time to send the whole team there to just sort of make sure that's cleared out, see if they can get a catch, and then back away afterwards. But in the end, both these teams decide to opt to just getting ready, getting these.
Oh, the double. This is called the super leash. So the Raptor's going to be taken down. Anyone at home who doesn't know how this works, Swaith starts with the W. And is going to get a leash on his red buff, so it goes down to about 600 health. He comes in, and he gets a very easy level 2.5.
Yep.
There you go. So this is really good. Swaith almost
this is
at full
very
health,
quick. This
and
is
it's
very
a quick leash, yeah.
What we can actually expect Swaith to do is actually go and get himself to level 3 by taking out either the blue buff or whatever he needs to.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be opting for the wolves there because he has stopped in that pathing. But it means that you can sort of go down and actually catch out Plug before Plug has a chance to get going. Plug is being very quick as well, very diligent in his own right. At least he's
tilting.
Quite a quick jungler. And should be actually fairly safe because Kha'Zix is going for a bit more of a greedy clear.
Kuden, of course, going Courage at the Colossus. Wouldn't go anything else, really, but getting those early trades. Level 2 will be reached by Tristana, and you have no surprises at how easy it is to push.
Well, it is so much easier to push when you do have double range. That's the big thing there. The fact that they managed to pick up the Lulu, all of a sudden priority does go towards them because they're able to push that out. Plus, naturally, Drakon does push the lane out with the explosive charge.
Swaith hasn't even got blue side just yet. As we see, Death Sentence, it's way too quick. Oh, first blood as the auto attack connects, and KO going to be forcing the rocket jump out of Tristana, and Kun unexpectedly just hits the hook between the minions.
That was incredible there. The fact that they were able to stop them from chipping away, getting the early engage is a big deal for the bot lane for Abyss Academy. Now, all of a sudden, Legacy Genesis can't continue using their pressure that they've managed to build up. Tristana naturally continues to push the lane because she's got the explosive charge. So that's going to put them at risk, especially the fact that Tilting doesn't have a flash anymore, and heal is down for Drakon.
Pap Rise up in this top is harassing Artiferns, trying to get the reciprocation, but you know how Renekton plays, and he plays nice and dirty. Legacy Genesis Plug was sitting up in this top lane, and you already saw that Swaith came in, stole away some of those Raptors, and backed on out. He's now going to get his first blue buff of the game, and there has been a lot of pathing up into this top side. Mid lane has a bit of priority as well. And as we said, Preacher said we would be focusing on that top lane. Artiferns and Paprise, the Renekton, Jarvan matchup, very, very important, and making sure Paprise can harass this lane even further. There's been no real jungle entrance so far in this game. I feel like Legacy Genesis will be suffering from that kill in the bottom lane, and KO and Kuden, with all this pick priority, double longsword picked up on that first back, as well as boots, will mean that Drakon and Tilting should start having a hard time.
And a little small thing I want to take into account there, when we're looking at is the phrase positioning, what he managed to do there. He knew that he had Swaith in the top side of the map, but he figured, you know what, Plug is probably pathing around that side, decided to put his ward closer towards that side, and then moved himself closer towards his ward. So that way he knew immediately that he would have protection in terms of seeing if Plug went a bit more of an unorthodox route, and decided to say where he had information on that side of the map. He said, yep, I think that's where he is. I'm going to stay away from that, keeping him safe from any ganks from happening.
KO actually has fallen behind a little bit, but Drakon had to go back, pick up the pickaxe, which is going to be a real advantage, just purely because of that 10 CS. But KO, next back, probably going to be... I mean, with the Varus, are we still going Blade of the Ruined King? Or are we looking at the Essence Reaver now in 7-13?
It's good. I mean, both of those builds have their own merit. I wouldn't be surprised if you decided to opt for the Essence Reaver build, basically doubling down on that utility, so that way he's got his ultimate up a bit more. Because really, you have to think about it, who's going to be the big, chunky laner? There's really only going to be one, and that's going to be Artiferns. And is he really the person that you do need to worry about? How much of a damage threat is he going to be? Is he just going to be a CC bot that we can deal with after we've won the team fight? Or is he someone that I need to prioritize when I go into it?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of gap close on Legacy Genesis, so I understand the need for the cooldown for the Chains of Corruption. If you're Abyss Academy, right now you're worried about how much they can get on that backline. The Jarvan, the Elise. I mean, Hayri even has a speed up in the Chaos Storm. That thing is fast when it's coming for you. Drakon has a gap close and a speed up from Lulu. There is a lot of mobility in Legacy Genesis, and if someone's trying to run away or disengage from Abyss Academy, I mean, you have to force ults, you have to force flashes, and it might be really easy for Legacy Genesis to force these summoners, in this early to mid-game portion.
Yeah, that's what's the great thing about having all this extra mobility in that portion. The skirmishers just become so much stronger, become enhanced by those abilities. And if you do manage to have that vision control and then just use them, like you said, you get easy summoners. Speaking of easy summoners...
So it does not miss the death sentence, and it will be a secured kill. Nice and easy. Kuden takes it with the ignite, but it's still another kill for the bot lane of Abyss.
And they knew the flash was down still. Tilting had used it, but died earlier. That's why they put some priority down on that bot lane. And Kuden seems to be flexing his muscles at the moment, making sure he lands those chains and getting Abyss Academy a great early lead.
Well, almost. I dare say that, the flash flame missed, but he recovered it with the death sentence. Abyss Academy, now doing what we saw in the first game, which is securing bottom lane vision. They'll come in, they'll steal that blue buff away and hopefully give it over to Frey, who's right now on zone control.
Yeah, it just seems to be pushing on through there. Probably fine for that, for him to get it. That means they've got a safer blue buff that Swaith can pick up as well, so he doesn't really mind about that. And look, they managed to find Drakon.
Drakon, no, death sentence goes very, very wide.
He's going for I think he was going for the...
going for the 1v1 still.
The predict there. Trying to say, you know what, Drakon's going to jump. This is where he's going to go. Never mind, Drakon managed to not buckle under the pressure and just decided to sidestep the other way.
So, for those of you at home, I believe it's a 0.25 second window. Tristana channels that rocket jump and cannot be interrupted. But after that, if you get him mid-rocket jump, you bring him right back down to earth. And then that engage becomes absolutely crucial for Kuden. You see Plug picks up his red buff, now may make his way to top, but Paparai's already backing.
Yeah, you can see they're not getting that blue buff as well as sort of hurting Frey a little bit to a degree. You do have Harry coming back with full mana, is able to force him out. Actually starting to pick up a little bit of a CS lead as well. And all of a sudden here Plug saying, you know what, I know you had to back. Sure, you had some control there, but this means I can actually wrestle some of my own here, and has made the move towards it. Love this pathing Pap Rise.
He comes up, he's going to be spotted by a ward, and the Gromp is stopped, but it's just going to be taken by Pap. Take it! Pap Rise. Pap Rise. Take the Gromp!
You know what, he was thinking about it. I bet he was thinking about it.
Name and shame.
And Swaif was like, do not take my Gromp.
Get your hands off my animal. It's not yours. There's the ultimate from KO, and looks like the bottom lane of Abyss Academy want to force the engage, but a couple of things missed. Now Kuden could be in trouble as Rocket Jump force the engage to the box. The Buster Shot. One more auto attack and a flash. Draken will trade his life, however, and you got to worry about an AD carry because Lulu, you may do early damage, but you will get destroyed as the minions are very angry. Plug has rushed for mobility boots. Oh boy, oh boy. KO,
here he goes.
Minion waves there. Plug flashes. Cocoon's great flash by KO. Looking for the outplay. There's the repel into the air. He's going to come right back down. He will not take the extra turret shot, but it is a trade of summoners from KO and Plug.
Yeah, very quick on that flash there. A nice reactive flash from KO to make sure that he can stay alive. And really, I would have thought that maybe Plug might want to reset a little bit early with that. Wait for Lulu to actually come in and give him a shield as a little bit of extra buffer and go for that dive afterwards, but instead takes a few more of those tower shots in the end, decides to use the wave to get out of there instead.
And Swaith will respond once again by going into those Raptors and denying the best experience camp in the game. Swaith going to do a full clear this time around, or just leave one little Raptor. He's coming mid. Hayri is backing, but he does not jump on him. Okay, Swaith just takes a small one. Cool.
I really like that particular move that junglers have been doing. It means that you actually just, basically because of how long it takes for the camps to de-aggro, means you can walk quite a fair bit of way if you manage to hold it for quite some time. Means that you get closer to your next leash, stop backs from happening. Really good sort of play.
I mean, this week has been a real highlight for the junglers because I feel like these guys have probably been scrimming together a little bit more. A death sentence will go blind by Kuden. But there's been a lot more. Okay, Plug is on the bottom side. I'm going to go top. You know, it seems basic, but it's something that the OCS teams have been struggling with in the past, at least the past couple of years when we've been casting at Mendrix. But now it seems like they're kind of advancing and our level of play is going up. It's smarter, it's more strict. And Swaith is a really good example of this, a jungler who's been around for a while and who can adapt to these plays and kind of make some of his own based on that vision.
This is exactly what I want to see coming out of these competitions as well. These guys to really up their game, forces the OPL to also up its game as well. And that means that more competition for Oceania, which is what everyone wants to hear.
Like you see Genesis' bot lane. Still struggling a little bit. BF Sword and Pickaxe is in the inventory of Drakon, but he's not forcing just yet. Plug comes into the brush. Don't think he's been spotted out, but Kuden, I mean, he's playing it very close.
He's in it there. I think he wants to go for it.
Finds Kuden. Rocket jump coming through, and the collapse. Box has been laid on down. Double whammy with the Tristana, but he will get taken down at the cost of his own life. Paprise comes on down. Artiferns joins him. A double kill, but Swaith cleaning house. Have you got a poker face? Oh my god, Swaith does with a triple kill, and he will pick up 21.
And that was a great proactive play by Legacy there, but Abyss Academy were able to do a great job when it comes for their own reactions. Kuden had the Ignite. That was a big change there because after he managed to use all his abilities, make sure he can proc that on the side there. I'm not sure what's happening here.
Dragon Flag is not an opportunity. He cataclysms right onto KO, who will take the turret shot. Artiferns still alive. Swaith, no. Press Q. Oh, no. Oh, no. Very close. Grasp of the Undying will come out. A 1-for-1 trade. Hayri is very mad. He's coming in. Flash. Chaos Storm. It's going to jump onto Swaith. He is dead for the shutdown. Paprise, get the heck out of there. Hayri is hungry, and he will try and get some numbers on the board, but Abyss Academy still find themselves ahead.
That was fantastic. I really love Artiferns. He actually came out really big to actually save the turret, get the kills as well, and then trade something back for his mid lane. So that was really great for that. But going back to that team fight beforehand, what I really want to look into account is the fact that Abyss Academy's bot lane had the advantage in summoners, and that played a big role. Because all of a sudden, instead of Kuden going down first, Tilting's the first one to go down. Next thing after that is that the fight was Paparize does the better teleport play.
Paparize. He was Papa then, wasn't he?
Paparize. He was popping up there, and he managed to popping off then. Managed to get the teleport play in
what is it
earlier.
With you with names?
I don't know.
Continue. Sorry.
Just let me do my own thing. This is what I
do. I just sometimes I can't.
Anyways, Paparize. Continuing forward, gets the earlier teleport. Boss. Gets the earlier teleport, and because he is able to do that, they take advantage again in the bot lane. But our defense really does make the best out of a bad situation.
Yeah, I mean, that kill should not have been traded back. It is going to be a 1.6k gold lead. Nothing to really frown about if you're a Legacy Genesis fan out there. But first items getting picked up around the board. Something I did want to notice is the fact that Swaith, level 9, Plug, level 7. It is going to be a slight advantage. 3-1 and 2 on this Kha'Zix. Has been playing an exceptional game of League of Legends here today. Some small mistakes, I guess, but Harry was coming up fast. But we need to take a big stock of this situation because those rotations were fantastic from Legacy Genesis. A little bit slow after Drakon and tilting went down, but they still came out and they still made the best of a very bad situation.
That's right. It saved the first blood turret. That's the big thing you have to take into account here. That turret is still going there because of the efforts of Artifacts. Frey got some free farm because of it. That's a big thing that you need to take into account. That's someone you really don't want to actually give that through. But Harry got the kill. He's still up there with CS as well. So he didn't really lose too much because of it. And now Abyss is going for a cheeky dragon.
I mean, after Legacy Genesis made that rotation, should Plug not have gone into that Mountain Drake? Because they had bot lane control. Plug was down there. And now because they don't execute on that play, Swaith goes for the freedom, takes it. It is going to be the first Mountain Drake by Abyss Academy, and there is another one to follow.
That's okay with that there at this point in time. I mean, it's really hard to say what would have been the right play at that point in time because you have to look at it in terms of what's Legacy Genesis' next priority. They go, okay, cool, let's get control of our lanes right now. Let's make sure we've got some vision and control across the board.
But you got a Tristana and a Victor. Now, Victor's going to build Lichbane. Tristana has explosive charges, Death Sentence misses. And this is actually going to be first turret blood. I mean, Mountain Drake would have been great. Abyss, they're just taking objectives left, right, and center here. This is going to give them a nice 3k gold lead. It seems like when all is still, all is silent, Abyss Academy capitalized the most.
And it just seems to be consequences of previous plays. Abyss Academy managed to get an early lead in that bot lane, which then leads to them winning that team fight earlier because of that summoner advantage, because of the proactive play beforehand. They do manage to get that chip damage earlier. Artifacts did a great job to save it at that particular point in time, but the damage was dealt, so that allows them to pick them up earlier afterwards. It allows Swaith to also pick up that Mountain Drake because that control for Abyss Academy is there.
But Legacy Genesis in the later portions of this game do have an easier executable team composition, correct?
Ooh, I mean,
it's not hard to press R on Jarvan. Here's a really good example. They're going to find the pick, force to flash out a Frey Chaos Storm. A zoning ball there. I wanted to say zoning ultimate, but Harry does most of the damage. Swaith coming in. Wants to send the love right on back. Legacy Genesis, they do force both summoners out of Frey. It means Harry will get a sigh of relief in the mid lane.
You know what? Going back to your question that you mentioned before in terms of who's got the easier executable comp, you're right. Legacy Genesis does have that easier executable comp. The big thing about it is, and this is the reason why, J4.
Cataclysm press R. Swaith jumps away. Great Cocoon is the follow-up there. Not this time. Bottom turret will go down as Legacy Genesis are pushing all sides of this map. Top will crash, but there's some more chip damage, and Frey knows he can be careful right here. Kun and KO were coming down. Plug really starts this pick. Death Sentence going to miss there.
As you can see, just sort of like jumping on the side. They're just sort of teasing him a little bit. You want to throw that hook out. Come on, you want to throw that hook out. Does manage to bait out in the end, but the vision control is in the advantage of Abyss. And let's go back to it again.
Love it when you talk dirty, Mendrick. Sorry, keep going.
Let's go back to it. So we were talking about it before in terms of Legacy Genesis have that easier executable comp. And it's because they've got the J4 engage. All of a sudden, you can just layer that up with everyone's ultimates afterwards. Tristana's going to be more than happy to sit back and just farm away. And Elise can just basically make sure she's getting cocoons out there. Speaking of cocoons and hooks.
Talk about executable. Wild Growth is going to go into Elise. Plug jumps into the air. The rappel going to come on down. He flashes. Two-man shockwave. Abyss have just turned on. And we talk about execution one more time, but if Frey lands that shockwave, baby, you're going down, and it's 3 for 1.
There we go. Now that seems to be the result of the fact that Abyss Academy had control on that top river there. Legacy Genesis walked in, realized, you know what? Oh crap! That ends up being the Rift Herald going down, and if the Rift Herald's going down, that's because they've got their members there taking it. You can't just walk into it with 2 members and expect to be able to get something for it. In the end, they end up losing the turret, end up losing the Rift Herald, and copying 2 kills for their troubles. Like, that is not what you want to, and it's going on to Frey as well. 1-0-2 as well. He's going to be a nice and strong Orianna coming into this mid-game.
And Swaith getting that Rift Herald was so crucial here. Let's watch this, Hook.
So as you can see here, they managed to pick that up there. They do jump in here, but this is the big, beautiful shockwave that we were talking about before. Because they throw their members in there, yes. Everything seems to be going well because they managed to pick up an easy kill off the back of it. But the problem is that they don't have that easy execution that we wanted to have there. Because it wants to be J4 going into the middle of their team, not off to the side. And Abyss Academy say, you know what, that's fine. We've got to Renekton with dominance in the middle of your team. Nice and easy shockwave for Frey to pull the trigger on. And they end up picking the kill because of it. Or winning the, basically winning the team fight because of it.
Only had 1 item. Mendrix only had 1 item. Frey, level 2 shockwave now, level 13. You can see that Harry has an impact with his Chaos Storm, but it's all about, you know, I love how we just come off talking about how easy it is for Legacy Genesis to execute this, you know, this team fight where you got Artiferns, press R, you know, Plug finds a pick. Oh, Harry gets a gravity field. Drakon is just chipping away. You know, there's so many tools for Legacy Genesis, but it's just one thing from Abyss Academy. Press R on the Orianna, get the shockwave, and if Legacy Genesis get bursted down quicker than they can respond, then there is not going to be a team fight from Legacy Genesis.
And I want to talk about why, you know, I'd say Legacy Genesis have that easy composition with the J4 going in first. And the reason for it is because for him to get into the middle of that team fight, to get into the middle of the team and be where he wants to be, it's a lot easier for him to execute that because 1, when he's going in, he's knocking up. 2, he's just grouping everyone together. And he'll be straight away into the heart of where he wants to be. And with Renekton doesn't get that CC as he's going in. He's actually susceptible to being CC'd when he decides to go in for his good old slice and dice. Whereas, so that makes him more susceptible to actually being stopped when he goes for that engage. But when it goes off, all of a sudden, it allows him to do so much more damage because of it. Because all of a sudden, he shredded their armor. He's managed to get his Q off. Manages to use as well the fact that he's got that Titanic Hydra built or his Tiamat at the time. And now they're just trading turrets across the board because Legacy Genesis don't want to take a real fight.
Yeah, Artiferns will get that bottom lane turret, but the Rift Herald being summoned top, will force Drakon to make the response. He moves on up. And after that wave getting pushed down bottom lane, I mean, Paprise has had a lot more focus on team fighting than Artiferns. I guess it is a difference with the players where last game we saw how crucial that J4 can be in team fights, but if Paprise is there first, he's going to make more of an impact. Abyss, this could be their second Mountain Drake, and all of Legacy Genesis have to forfeit this. They cannot fight right now. There's, you know, Lichbane, yes, the Victor is starting to come online, but Tristana doesn't have the Infinity Edge yet. Where you've got a Blade of the Ruined King, Varus. You've got Azil on him as well. Now has Renan's Hurricane. I mean, there's a big, big difference right now between Abyss Academy. And the third one is going to be Mountain Drake. Triple Mountain for this comp to deny away from the Tristana from the Victor.
And now that Abyss Academy have managed to pick up 2 Mountain Drakes and also have control around the map, it really seems to be them holding all the cards here. Because now, Baron is such a big threat that you need to worry about. And because Varus has opted for that Blade of the Ruined King build, he can easily shred through it with those 2 mountains on his back. So now, all of a sudden, Legacy Genesis need to start putting most of the resources into making sure they've got control of that Baron, because at any point in time, Abyss Academy can pull the trigger and say, yep, this is now our objective. And if they're not paying attention, if they manage to catch them with their pants down, or Abyss Academy catches Legacy Genesis with their pants down, they will just win the game off of that.
And because Abyss Academy are just so far ahead, they're now hovering around this Baron. There's about 1,000 gold in each and every lane. In that top lane, there's no exception. In the jungle, you've got almost 2,000 gold between Swaith and Plug. And that's because of the kills, yes. However, it's also because of the camp efficiency by Abyss Academy's jungler. They're hovering around this top side. They have vision control, and they're just sweeping it out.
It's not just the camp efficiency, it's the tower advantage as well.
True.
I mean,
the neutral, yeah.
That's 4 towers to 2. That really is playing a big role in that.
Tilting has to be careful. He jumps on over to the side. There's going to be a Dark Passage locked on up, and there's a lot of CC. For some reason, Wild Growth, let's not ask any questions. Abyss Academy's jungler gets out, but he is very low. And Legacy Genesis, I don't really think they can do much with this, but Swaith is going to smite and try and heal up.
I mean, they got 2 mountains. They could probably go for this. Someone needs to deal with Papyrus. This is the big difference between the Renekton's and the last game. They're able to do a lot of damage.
Oh, Death Sentence very, very
Found
shy
it.
with the ultimate, and tilting goes down. That is the protection from Legacy Genesis. This could be what they need. He flashes on top. Plug is in trouble. His team is not even with him. Great flash over the wall, but it is going to be flayed. And Kuden and Baron team up to take down the jungler.
That's right. Again, Papyrus uses it.
Oh, great flash away from the gravity field. Papyrus trying to 1v2 now. Harry running with his life, but a nice shutdown from Drakon. It won't mean anything, however, because this Baron is getting torn apart, and the Purple Worm will go over to Abyss Academy.
And it all comes down to the fact that those 2 mountains made it such a threat to deal with. Legacy Genesis needed to put more people there to wrestle that control around that map and that top side. But because the Legacy Genesis didn't do that, Abyss Academy managed to force some key ultimates out. Poor Tilting had to use his Wild Growth beforehand, or used it, I guess you could say, a little bit itchy, a little bit premature to use it then. And that meant he died afterwards. Abyss Academy jump on that situation. Papyrus says, yes, I'm using my teleport once again. And that ends up securing the Baron for him because of it. Now I think Abyss Academy have all the tools they need to end this game.
There's been so much priority up through this mid lane. You know, Abyss Academy's Frey has just been pretty much playing the Orianna game that we always expected out of him.
I feel like he's on cruise control at the moment.
Exactly, but it's an Orianna. Like, why do you have to, you know, I'll find one shockwave, I'm good.
There's nothing's fancy. All I need to do is do some zone control, make sure I'm there when I need to be. Oh, look, nice shockwave there. Hey, we're getting another Baron off because of it.
Easy.
It's very easy for them to do this as well, because we mentioned that, yes, like Genesis have a great, easy, executable team composition. Abyss Academy, theirs is pretty good too as well. They just need to make sure they find the right moment. But because they're so far ahead now, they don't even need to look and prepare for the right moment. Every moment seems to be the right moment.
6,000 gold with an Orianna who's almost at 3 items. Abyss Academy now with the Baron buff going to start sieging up bottom lane. And Legacy Genesis, not sure you can really deal with the front line of Abyss right now. It's going to be a Renekton helping take down the turret. 7,000 gold, and the Baron power play continues to escalate, with the 3rd and final mountain up in 1 minute 50.
And really now the control just seems to be ever-reaching for Abyss Academy. They just continue to rotate around. One more infrastructure they need to deal with, which is in the mid lane. Legacy Genesis already setting up the defenses around there. Abyss Academy playing around with vision to see if they can get a pick, make this a little bit easier, but I still feel they have the power just to brute force this down when they manage to send Renekton into that mix.
Now they're looking for the last inner turret of this game at 25 minutes in. Legacy Genesis just have to back away. I mean, there's nothing you can do. There is a lot of gap closed by Legacy Genesis, but it only means there's going to be a quicker escape, and they force these objectives to go into the hands of Abyss Academy. Not too much wave clear with the Baron buff. Gravity Field is zone away, and Legacy Genesis may have this wave, but do they have the next?
It's quickly getting to that point where Legacy Genesis need to stand their ground and force a team fight. They need to wait for a mistake, wait for that misstep, and basically find it quickly. Otherwise, Abyss Academy are just going to steamroll over the game without any major team fights occurring. Papyrus
taking 0 damage, even just with the Spectre's Cowl. Plug now has 2 items. He's got the Leandru's Torment, but I'm not sure it's going to make a difference unless they do find that pick, that priority target. They can either go for this turret, 40 seconds till that 3rd mountain to make things easier. With this Baron, it's not going to be the biggest power play, but it is going to be still a big advantage as they are controlling 90% of this map right now. That Dragon, they're not even worrying about it. They're going to go topside, and they're going to look for all these waves to be crashing into the base of Legacy Genesis. Like you said, Legacy Genesis just have to try and find a pick or just find that mistake. Because right now, the ultimate comes up, Chain of Corruption.
That's
from
a big
KO.
ulti down.
Legacy Genesis, can they defend this turret is the big question. I feel like for now, yes. You have the Victor, you've got safe, reliable wave clear, but you've also got a hard engage from Abyss Academy that they can execute at any moment. Dragon's now live. They back away, and the Baron, I believe, soon to depart.
Yeah, that wave clear really seems to be the saving grace for Legacy Genesis there. The fact they've got the Death Ray, and they do have the explosive charge there available from a long-range ADC. So if they manage to hold this position around the map without losing too much more, they can take this to the late game, but we're talking super late now before they can really find a chance to actually contest Abyss Academy. We're talking 40-minute, 45-minute mark. That's what they need to make sure they can hold on to. This is a very important Mountain Drake.
To find a Jarvan Cataclysm on potentially Frey or KO seems like could be a win condition. Legacy Genesis, do they steal away the Mountain Drake? Comes in, stolen away by Swathe, now forcing the team fight. Box has been erected in the middle. Artiferns, two-man Cataclysm, but the shockwave in the back line is way too much. Abyss Academy say, hey, come at me, brother. I'm coming hard for you. A double kill for Frey, a double kill for Paprise. You have a double kill, you have a double kill, and we might just take the game.
That was big there coming through from Legacy Genesis. They managed to find the team fight that they wanted, but Abyss Academy are just too strong. They managed to hold on for long enough in that team fight, follow up with their own combination, and that massive shockwave really was the final nail in the coffin coming across for Legacy Genesis, and Abyss Academy are now just basically barreling down the base.
Maybe the death timers are too short at 28 minutes. Baron will be up in 2 minutes. It feels like the inhibitors will just be broken. And Abyss Academy are not going to push too hard. They're going to take the safe objectives. Baron comes up in 145. They got 3 Mountain Drakes as Sway stole that one away. I was expecting Artiferns to come through and have a big ult, but let's have a look again.
All right, so this is great from Swave to actually get this steal off the back of it, but that's not the big thing here. So as you can see, all of a sudden they managed to lock down Artiferns long enough so that he's not able to get all the cooldown that he wants to go into. So he basically buys enough time for Abyss Academy to sit back, recollect their positioning, and that gives Frey the opportunity to land that massive shockwave because he's not under pressure, because all of that CC is going down on the Artiferns before he can execute his combination. Because he gets that shockwave off while he's midway through that animation there, and all of a sudden Legacy Genesis can't follow through with any damage.
And let's be honest, I mean, the wild growth where Artiferns got the 3-man knockup and 3-man Cataclysm was great, but there was no damage follow-up with Drakon so far behind and using those resources on the J4 when there is so much, like, there are pretty much 4 members of damage from Abyss Academy.
You just have to look at it, because Legacy Genesis was sitting there going, all right, come on, Artiferns, use your combo so we can walk into this team fight, so we can go there and deliver all the damage we want to. But he was locked down for a good amount of time. So before he could even use his combination, the Wild Growth had to go off. Ideally, you want that Wild Growth going off afterwards. Yep. Because it ends up being the knock-up into the Cataclysm, into him, and knocking them up once again. That basically buys enough time for Legacy Genesis to steamroll through. But because he's unable to do that, all of a sudden Frey gets into position. The moment Legacy Genesis walk forward, the ball's already there. Massive shockwave. No chance to execute on what they wanted to do.
And it seems like a composition that, yes, get to the 40-minute mark and get to that late game stage by Legacy Genesis is now really no longer able to execute. They are hoping for a miracle here. This Baron could pretty much throw this in the bottom of the pit. And Legacy Genesis, they will disengage it off of Abyss Academy, but they can just try this again, and they can force Legacy Genesis to come on near and get that pick.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so rough to deal with it because now, really at any moment in time, Abyss Academy just burn that down. Legacy Genesis doing a good job of zoning them off.
Yep.
But I mean, really, they're gonna find that pick, and as soon as they walk into that jungle, Legacy Genesis are scared.
Death sentence would have been exactly that for Plug. Legacy Genesis still hovering around the Baron, but Abyss Academy can keep forcing them near. They have to face check this. There is no wards. Now controlled. Do they hit it? No, they don't. They don't know what the health is. Control ward dropped in the back of the pit. They see it at 4,000 health. Their sentence lands, and it could be exactly that. Plug. Cataclysm is available, but do they use it? He used it a little bit late. That was huge. Whoa. That was what they wanted. See you later, buddy, says Frey. Abyss Academy, man, that was absolutely filthy. Why would I say big shockwave when Frey can say it for me? Drakon is the remnants of the survival of Legacy Genesis, but survive no longer as Abyss Academy clean the floor once again.
They just seem to be on the same page all the time, Abyss Academy. That is why they really seem to be the front runners in this composition. They knew they had the 3 Mountain Drakes. They knew Legacy Genesis had to go for the face check.
Oh, denied.
You've got no chance of surviving that one there. And as soon as they're able to set up the play, as soon as they're able to find what they needed, they knew there was no flag and drag. They saw J4 do it. They saw Artiferns use it, and they immediately execute afterwards.
And Abyss Academy are just so exciting to watch. Every single time I watch one of their games, I say these guys are front runners for going to that OPL promotion tournament. It is only 3 weeks in, and you'd say, hysterics, hysterics. Calm down. 1, calm down. 2, calm down. 3, it's only week 3. But Abyss Academy have this showing of what we saw in Regicide last split. Team Regicide last split showed us exactly this. A team we get excited about because they execute so flawlessly at times. And Frey is there. You know, Paprise is there. It's just everyone we can talk about from Abyss Academy. Swaith. You know, it's an exciting roster with KO and Kuden as well. I mentioned all 5 that we cannot doubt.
They're just being proactive. They make the proactive play, and it's always the right decision, and they just win the games off the back of it. Because they say, you know what, we need Paprise, we need you here now. He's there. Doesn't really matter. No hesitation for what they go for. And because they communicate that, you can just see it in those little moments in the time why they're able to win those team fights.
Was the mistake, Preacher, letting Frey have Orianna?
I don't really think it's that, because you take a look at the 2 team compositions and you just say, I think that we actually drafted pretty well. If you're on the side of Legacy Genesis, you got a Jarvan and you got a Tristana for the late game. I don't really think the Orianna was a major factor. Of course, though, when we're talking about Frey's Orianna, it becomes a completely separate issue, as he demonstrated time and time again in the game. But I want to break down what really worked against Legacy Genesis and ultimately ended up in their demise and losing this game. I think it was the fact that they laid out their win conditions very clearly at the start. They just said, we just need to get to 35, 40 minutes, make sure that Tristana gets as many items as she possibly can. Jarvan, of course, getting to level 16. That 700 base damage on his Cataclysm would just go bonkers in the middle of the enemy team. Bonkers. But unfortunately, they were just like, okay, get to late game, make a pick with Jarvan and Elise, and then we'll be good to go. But they forgot that the major part was get to the late game. And when you're playing against a star-studded roster of Abyss Academy, you already mentioned all of their players, because you do need to mention all their players individually. They just took over the laning phase. They needed to play in the lanes. They needed to ARAM mid. You know what? Sydney's pretty cold right now. Get on your gloves. It's ARAM time. It's
ARAM time. And Legacy Genesis, that Rift Herald fight, I feel like was the pinpoint of where we said Abyss Academy didn't need to do anything except let them come to, let Legacy Genesis come into the palm of their hands. And they played with them. Like, they had a good time. That Rift Herald fight was pretty much the start of the end.
And it comes down to execution, really. I mean, you look at it. Legacy Genesis made their move towards that there. You did have Artifernes. He did use his combination, but he was off to the side. Paprise is like, sweet, I'm going to jump into the middle of the rest of your team, and we're going to use our big ultimate right there. And you could immediately see the effect it had. And then it just resonated throughout the rest of the game.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to go to a 5-minute break, but do not go anywhere. I'm sure there are more games like that. I'm sure there's more power picks coming through for the OCS week number 3. You know who we are. You know who you are. Don't ever forget yourself. We'll see you in 5 minutes.